Welcome to Indie Business Club, the podcast for independent creatives, freelancers, founders, and business owners. He's Ben McKinney.
And she's Mel Barfield. And we're both copywriters and business owners sharing tips and advice we've picked up along the way. This episode is called Joy Division, and it's all about finding balance as an indie business owner. On the show, we'll discuss whether work-life balance is a myth if you run your own business, signs that you need to review your balance, and tips on how to manage your diary so that you give both your life and your business the attention they each deserve.
And as always, we'll have a voice note on today's theme and my favourite part of the show, Your Friend and Mine, where we shout out someone we think is great.
So balance, Mel. We've called this episode Joy Division because ideally, if you work for yourself, there should be some kind of joy.
Ideally, maybe at the beginning.
The idea of freelance life or working for yourself or running your own thing, it is exciting, and it does bring with it like, oh, I'm in total control of my diary and my life and my goals. Then you must be able to find joy in that. Mustn't you?
Well, I don't know. Actually, we're perhaps assuming that people start a business for the same reasons we did. So maybe there is never any joy.
Yeah, it's true.
But it certainly was for me. I literally fell in love with copywriting and became quite obsessed with it. So for me, becoming an independent business owner was pure following my joy and the thing that sparked something inside me and made me all excited. So for me, it was. I don't know if that was the case for you, though.
For me, it was just about like flexibility and being able to do the things that I wanted to do, which at the time when I first started my business, back at the very young age of, I think I just turned either 21 or 22. I think I just turned 21.
Did you have a mobile phone by then?
Do you know, I think I might have got one for that specific reason of having my own business. Yeah, I held off. I wasn't an early adopter of a mobile phone. No, I think at the time I'd done a couple of jobs. I sort of bounced around, and an opportunity came up, and it was just a case of like, oh, I really wanted to travel and kind of go away and see the world a little bit. So I couldn't do that in a normal job just with kind of regular amounts of holiday. So it was that's why I started my own business, was to kind of work the hours that I wanted to work. And then it was window cleaning. Obviously we've talked about that before on the show, that built this little window cleaning business, and I would do maybe a couple of months work, save up enough, and then go away for maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, come back.
So the work itself wasn't joy, but the reason for doing it.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely joy.
Yeah, in the early days, the work was misery because it was freezing cold, and I was literally up a ladder for most of the day. As the technology improved, it got better. But yeah, it was absolutely about the things that the flexibility of working for myself gave me. That was the thing that brought me great joy.
Yeah, I could just imagine that horrible icy cold trickle of water down your into your elbow and armpit as you're
yeah, under your sleeve. Yeah.
Horrible. Anyway,
how long have you worked for yourself?
I went officially freelance the 1st of January 2022. I've done little bits here and there on the side before. So when I was a careers advisor, I did some careers consulting and training and stuff on the side. So I was technically self-employed, but I had a job, mainly an employed job. And I think because I love what I do, that joy is still there, deep down, to do the work. But I think that's the problem for me, is that I just care too much and I love my job too much. And it means that the division of work and life, there isn't one. There just isn't one. It's a blend. And I like it, but I think there have been times when I've been fully chock-a-block booked and then had that creeping stress chest thing going on where I'm like, oh, I know something's not quite right, and the thing that's not quite right is I don't have enough time between projects, and I'm not spending enough time resting and with my family. So the joy can be a curse as well, because if you're really enjoying what you're doing, and of course every piece of work you do on your business you can justify because it's to get the end goal of money in, it can be a little bit dangerous. It can be dangerous to have too much flexibility in your diary almost.
How does it compare to being employed? Because you're somebody that puts everything into what you're doing. You don't half-ass anything, as far as I can tell. So how does it compare? Like, so when you were an employee, were you the type of employee that would stay late or come home and think about work and be working on stuff? Or was there a much clearer delineation of, I'm at work, now I'm at home, and I've got kind of family and personal time?
I am an incredible employee for the employer. I'm not a very good employee for myself. And that was part of the reason I left my last employed role. Was I would consistently over deliver and overstretch and overwork myself. So it's just in me. I don't know. Maybe. But that's what I love about being self-employed, is that everything that I choose to do like that, you know, in the evenings, or anything I want to do beyond what I need to do, it all helps my business. Like this podcast, no one's paying us for this, Ben. This is for the joy.
Well, that's a good time for us to mention that if you're really enjoying the show, you can support us by going to ko-fi.com/Indie Business Club. Ko-fi is KO-FI. I only asked about your previous roles because it's 21 years since I had a proper job, so I can't really remember.
I recently had to explain to you what a PDR is. What does PDR stand for, Mel? Oh yeah, you've never, or not for a long time, had a proper job.
Yeah, I can't really remember.
I
think I was thinking.
Go on.
No, you go ahead.
Do you sometimes crave the boundaries of having a job? Would you love to just have a 10 till 2 part-time job?
So yeah, there definitely have been times where I've thought, I don't want to be my own boss anymore. I could probably kind of flourish in a role where I was given support and direction and a pathway to improve. I think sometimes these thoughts don't really last that long. They used to always come in February. So certainly when I was a full-time window cleaner, my wife used to call February my John Lewis month, because I'd always I'd work really hard up till kind of Christmas Eve. Then I'd take a decent amount of time off in January, come back to work the back end of January, and February is always the worst weather month for whatever reason. So whether it was having the time off and then trying to get back into it, I'd be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I'd be like, no, I'm not going to have my own business anymore. I'm just going to go to John Lewis and get a job there. I don't know why it was always John Lewis. I don't know. Maybe just
we've
for the
had
staff discount.
Similar conversations. It's in our house. It's I'll just go and work at Asda. So there's a class difference for you. Interesting that you think you could be employed at John Lewis. They have high standards.
They do.
So like
yeah.
when I was working with young people as a careers advisor, some of the absolute not going to get any GCSEs at all students who were completely disengaged with school would go, I'll just work at McDonald's. And I had to break it to them, actually, you're not going to hit their, they like people to have a certain number of GCSEs. Anyway, that was a sidetrack.
Hey, I think I could have got into John Lewis. I think I'd be a good employee too.
Sorry, Ben. I think you can rate John Lewis. John Lewis, if you're listening, this guy's stand-up, hard-working. Anyway, what are the downsides of not having good work-life balance? So I get that stress chest where I suddenly feel a bit. Well, I'll start holding my breath in my sleep. It comes out as a horrible death rattle that wakes my husband up. And so there are physical symptoms when I'm overdoing it. I'm really good now at recognizing them and doing something about that. So it's not something that happens often now. That was happening more when I was employed, actually. So you got to listen to what your body's telling you. If it's going.
Yeah, for me, I don't think I tend to get the physical symptoms. It's mainly kind of that feeling that there's no headspace whatsoever. You're constantly juggling or constantly behind. I think for me, I kind of know when I've lost the balance when I start to fear emails coming in. Like an email will land and I'll be like, I don't want to open it. So I kind of know then that I've lost the balance. Those things happen probably like, and if an email comes in and I've probably opened it out of hours, like at a silly time in the evening or something. So, and interestingly, the John Lewis thing stopped it was just before the pandemic, so 5 or 6 years ago. I remember thinking, hey, I haven't had that thought this year, and I didn't then have it going forward. And part of that was due to kind of goal setting, and part of it was just managing my diary better and not trying to be everywhere at any time, doing all things for all people. So I think those kind of things, the goal setting and kind of like the diary management helped. But yeah, I think I've probably burnt out a couple of times. I remember feeling about a year ago that was kind of, I think just the feeling of physically exhausted and mentally just I don't really know the best way to say it really, kind of just no freshness whatsoever, frazzled, and everything felt like, a chore.
That period in your life, you had big stuff going on in work and life. Yeah, so perhaps that's like you can only do big stuff in one at a time. Ideally. Yeah, I think. Yeah, just for you context, didn't have the choice, but
yeah, just for context for people who haven't listened before, that we were going through a home renovation, and my wife was pregnant with our third child, so there was a lot going on. There was a lot to look forward to, but also lots of things being, juggled, I suppose. And I think
launching Copy or Die at the same time.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one as well.
Yeah. So that's the work bit.
And this podcast.
Which is only a joy. It's never a chore.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this perhaps now if you want to, but when we did one of the LinkedIn live shows that preceded the podcast, we talked about balance on one of them. And actually, I think it's probably easy to look at something like this and think, if you're adding something else in, how can it do you any good? But actually the podcast has become my creative outlet. And I think if I think back a year or so to when we weren't doing this, I think I didn't have any creative outlet. So everything was very, very work heavy, whether that was the house, prepping for the baby, launching the new business, just general work and running things, as well as being a dad and all that kind of thing. It all felt very much a lot of responsibility. Whereas although doing the podcast does add into the working week, it has become a creative outlet, and I think it's helped me regain balance in a lot of ways. So, yeah, love it.
You're welcome, Ben. You're welcome. I remember that when we did the LinkedIn Live about this last time. I remember you texting me afterwards and being like, "Oh, I felt unexpectedly triggered by that conversation," because it was really revealing. That was about then, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, I remember coming away from the show being like, "Oh, I really have lost balance." And perhaps hadn't admitted it to myself or to anybody else. Yeah,
this is the gift of the podcast. It's basically therapy.
Well, balance means something.
Stop. We're not going to move on from that. I want to know how you regained balance. Obviously, having the baby and finishing renovations helped, but what is different now that means you do feel like balance is restored a bit?
So the renovation finished literally the day that baby 3 was born. And that's
not something you can build in a buffer. Like, it's not up to you when that happens. So that's
so having that done, and I was doing a lot of the work. I wasn't doing all of the work. We were having people in and everything, but I was doing a lot of the work. So having that done, obviously that dropped off. Baby 3 is now 8 months old, so we're past that kind of really early newborn stage and everything, and all of the things that brings. But I think the main thing is just being a bit more realistic with what I can and can't do, and not just thinking, well, I have to do everything, because that is a kind of mindset that I get into pretty easily. Like,
that's an indie business owner mindset.
Yeah, I think so. Somebody that's worked for themselves for 20 years.
Yeah. That's
the kind of mindset, like, it won't get done unless I do it. So then you almost get to that point with everything. We talked in the in the live show about outsourcing, and we went on to do an episode of that about outsourcing, which might be worth us talking about in the future on the podcast. But it was about recognizing what I physically couldn't do and finding somebody to help me out with it, and making then decisions within the business that meant that it wasn't just relying on me. And honestly, the business has grown by doing that, because, you know, it's not now me putting everything off constantly thinking, well, I can't do that today, I'll do it tomorrow. I can't do that tomorrow, I'll do it the next day. So it has made a bit of a difference. I think the key thing is trying to instigate a block time calendar. So having times in the week protected for certain activities, like this is always, you know, the same slot now during the week, isn't it? And that's made a massive difference to me, in terms of knowing we're prepping for this time and we're going to record at this time and we have that time protected. And then filling up the week in different ways in that same sort of principle, really. So that's helped. And then I know then what I can't do. That, you know, there are things that I physically can't fit in the week, so I either have to make a different decision or get somebody else to help me with it. And that's probably been a big part of it. It's not perfect. I'm not there yet. It's like a constant. You have to stay on top of it
and review it and make sure things don't slip.
Which in itself is hard, because then that means you're on either, in my case, my phone a lot too much, or on your computer or whatever, you know, you run your business through. So staying on top of it adds into the, you know, it's baked into the cake as well, because it's then like, well, I'm on my phone, and you get those little reminders at the start of the week. Your screen time has been.
No, I do not get those reminders. I don't want them.
Well, I want them because I want to feel bad, I suppose, and then try and make a change. But it's hard, isn't it?
Well, the balance bit that I struggle with is there is in the marketing yourself. You can literally just do it forever. There's an infinite number of ways that you can do it. There is no cap. There is no end. So you can just be on your phone in the evening drafting. I'll be there sat on the sofa. Drafting, trying to keep up with what's going on in Severance, no spoilers please, and drafting a LinkedIn post that's just popped into my head, and in my notes app, because I can, and why not? And if I don't, it gets lost. So finding the balance between doing the actual work and doing things like this podcast, working on talks. We're both event speakers as well. I think that is the freelance dance. I can't remember who I saw mentioned that term. I quite like that. I just want to acknowledge the privilege we both have, though, of having a separate workspace. So you and I are both able to close the door on the office, and I just want to say sorry to anyone that doesn't have that, because I think that must make it, or maybe it makes it easier. Maybe it's, I don't know, if you're working from the kitchen table and you have to clear everything off at a certain time because you're going to eat dinner, then maybe that gives you more of a hard stop than an office door that you can just kind of sneak. I can sneak into my office at any time, as you know, because I'll sometimes text you, I'm just working on this thing, and it's some horrible hour. And maybe having the permanent work set up is a bad thing, because you can just dip in any time. Whereas if it's a setup that you have to take down or put away, maybe that makes it easier to have a bit of a an end time.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I've done both. So I've worked from the kitchen table, dining room table, and I still do that occasionally. You know, if I need to be around, sort of, if you know, I need to do a couple of little light jobs, emails or whatever, but there's children kind of barreling around. The issue with that is that you can't just walk away from work. So even then it's kind of harder to walk away, because you think, I have to finish what I'm doing, because if I need to close the computer and put everything away, I won't be able to pick it up where I'm at now.
Yeah, true.
Whereas the permanent workspace is great, because you can just think, I need a break, or I have a responsibility to go and do. I have to walk away, and you can walk away leaving things as they are and then come back to them and pick them up again. I think it's important to acknowledge and recognise our supportive spouses as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
who don't mind us
shout
working
out
into
to the spouses.
Yeah, shout out to the spouses.
That's actually it is now the money's coming in. Forgiveness. Sorry, I thought I wouldn't have to work tonight, but I do need to. That's early on, that was forgiven because I was setting up a business. Then there was a middle bit where it was not forgiven so much, because I would be it's always become a bit of a running joke that I'll sort out the things for the charity shop next week, and we've said this joke as well, the running joke of, after the next few weeks things are going to calm down a bit, and they never do. But yeah, no, my husband's very supportive, and especially now the business is doing well, he is even more so. So, but I just want to say, before we go into the voice note that we've got for today, because it's related, I try not to think of work and life as two separate things, and that then gives me forgiveness, and allows me to forgive myself for not sticking as strictly as I started out with, like, it's only within the school day. And that is still true. I still only work within the school day to do client work and stuff like that. And then I try and stop when I pick the children up from school. And then if I do need to do anything else, it's after they've gone to bed, in theory. But I think thinking of it as this blend of stuff rather than being two completely separate silos of your life, I think that's the more realistic way to do it. And there's part of it is forgiving yourself that, or not forgiving yourself, giving yourself permission for it to be that way, instead of constantly feeling like you've let yourself and your family down because you're checking your emails on a Sunday or whatever. So yeah, that's my excuse for working more. Shall we do the voice note?
Yes, absolutely. Got a lovely voice note today from Bhavini Lakhani, who's a brand identity designer and print designer at her own business, B81 Designs. You can find Bhavini on Instagram, her website, B81, that's B81designs.com, and on LinkedIn. And here's what she had to say.
Hey Ben and Mel, it's Bhavini here. As a freelancer, the lines between work and home life can get really blurry, especially when your office is also a part of your home. The whole work-life balance thing used to really stress me out, and I felt like I was chasing this impossible ideal and constantly failing. And then I started to look at work and life as a blend instead of as a balance. And it's really shifted my perspective. You know, if I need to take a break and go for a walk or lift some weights mid-morning, then I will. And if I want to work one evening instead of working in the morning, then I will. A couple of practical things that have really helped me find a good blend. I have a auto response on my emails. It helps take the pressure off of having to reply to a client or a new lead immediately. I change my working pattern during the school holidays too, so that I can spend some quality time with my girls while they still want to hang out with me. And then I always make sure that I take some time off after the school holidays for myself so that I can avoid burnout. My friend Leela calls these adult inset days, which is the perfect way to describe it. The amount of time I take off depends on how long the kids have been off for. So, for example, after the summer holidays, I'll take a whole week off. After a half-term break, I'll take a couple of days off. It's these little things that have helped me find a really good rhythm that works for me. And I guess that's the true freedom of freelancing, isn't it?
It is the true freedom of freelancing.
Hasn't Bhavini got a great podcast or radio voice?
She does have a great podcast or radio voice. Bhavini, you should start a podcast.
Loads of good stuff in there. Thank you for that, Bhavini. The auto response on emails, my ears and my eyes are like, oh, what a great idea. Because although I said earlier, like, I start to fear emails, the emails I really fear are the ones saying, Ben, did you get my email from 3 days ago? No. Because I haven't responded at all. Just wanted to check it came through.
Ange has that as well, doesn't she? The kind of the auto response of, I'm prioritising client work. It may take a few days to get back to you, but thank you, or like something like that.
Yeah, just setting expectations and the thing that shows people that it's been received and that you've got a timeline for dealing with it. That was really good. I never set, this is a little tangent, but I never ever set an out of office reply up if I'm taking time off. You
must.
So that is something that I mean, mainly because I forget and don't really know how to do it. But
I'll show you
that
later.
Is something I really need to do. I think when you work for yourself, sometimes you can feel bad about taking time off, can't you? If a client contacts you and you're like, I can't talk right now because I'm on holiday. Nobody would say, no, I demand that you do talk to me or respond to me. So yeah, it's something I never ever do, and I really should do that. I love to think this is like a life goal, I think, has become as well. the
Lifting
adult
weights.
inset.
Oh.
Well, I love the lifting weights, but adult inset days. Just for
Yeah.
international listeners, inset days are like teacher training days when, you know, the school faculty's in, but your children are off school. And having an adult one of those after a school holiday, just to sort of decompress and give yourself some personal time. That feels like a life goal I can get on board with.
Well, we talked previously about having, I can't remember what we called them, creative play dates, where you just meet your friends and go and do something fun. That's what we should be doing on those adult inset days.
That sounds good, yeah.
I liked, so I obviously listened to Bhavini's voice note before this episode, and that stuck in my head, the word blend, because I used that before when I was leading into her voice note, because that, but I think we talked about it as well on the live LinkedIn live that we did about this topic, and sometimes I wonder if I'm just using that as an excuse of like, it's fine, life's just a blend, isn't it? Just a hot pot and a mix and the fruit salad of life where everything's just jumbled in. And I'm like, that's just my way of excusing working in the evenings and ignoring my children in the school holidays. But let's just pretend it isn't my way of doing that. How do you stop, if you do believe in the separation of work and home life? Actually, it's good. I mentioned Severance earlier. That's a good one to bring up, because for those who don't know, it's a TV program where you have separate consciousnesses for your work life and your home life, and they never the twain shall meet. No spoilers, Ben. I'm only on season 1.
Just watch out for the goats. That's the only spoiler I'm good. Honestly, I could get on board with that. I don't know if that is a
spoiler or not.
I could get on board with the severed conscious kind of thing, in terms of like, you go to work and then you don't think about work at all once you leave. I think I could get on board with that. Maybe not the two separate lives, but...
My question was going to be, how do you stop thoughts about work from creeping in during like home time?
I've got something recently in the last 6 months which has really helped me. I mentioned my phone earlier, and that's kind of like my kryptonite, I suppose, because it's always on me. I'm on it too much, and I'm kind of aware that I'm on it around very small children a lot of the time. And it's okay during work hours, I think, because I am running 2 businesses and pretty busy. But yeah, kind of evenings and bedtimes, trying to put it down and remembering, just getting into the right habits. But I bought a brick about 6 to 8 months ago, funny enough, coinciding with the birth of child 3. And it's a little NFC device.
It's not a building brick.
Not like an engineering brick or a house building brick. It's a little grey NFC chip, it's magnetized, so it sits on my fridge, kind of on the side of the fridge, so I can't see it. And then when you tap your phone against it, it kind of bricks the apps that you don't want to be able to access. And then the only way you can re-access those apps is to re-tap it.
Physically
re-tap
where
it,
it is. Yeah.
So you can do it as well. It will, if you're out and about and you think, I want to get rid of these apps, you can brick it yourself, but you still need to then be able to touch the brick when you want to open up your phone again. So I've been doing that. I've set up a profile for evenings, kind of call it the 8 o'clock profile, which is probably too late, should probably be 6 o'clock. But yeah, I tap it at 8 o'clock, and then I can't get on social media, emails, that kind of thing in the evenings. And then I've got a weekend one, which is pretty similar. That's all emails. That leaves me one social media, which I kind of will access for sports stuff and like commentary and keeping up to date with the football, that kind of thing. But then like LinkedIn's gone. I can't get on LinkedIn at the weekends, that kind of thing. And
it's fine, because I send you screenshots if there's anything notable. I can bypass that brick. Don't you worry.
It sounds really like pathetic. Like, wow, as a middle-aged adult human, you have to rely on something like this. But actually, I found it really useful.
I bet that lots of people listening will go, God, I really need that. And it's hard to admit to yourself, but it is.
What it's good for as well is out and about. So it's very good for work as well. So if I've got a particular profile, if I'm out for the day working, or just shut off social media, but I can still have emails and other stuff like that. And one gets rid of Safari as well, the web browser. But actually, what I found it really, really good for, to give me a much better way of switching off, is if I'm out and about with the children, if I take the kids to the park or something, I'll tap it before I go. And then I can't, even if my hand goes to my back pocket to get my phone and flick it up and open it, I can't then open anything. So I put it straight back.
Yeah.
And actually over Christmas, I had it bricked for about, took about 2.5 weeks off over Christmas. And I bricked it for the entire time. And I definitely felt the habit changing as the kind of time went on. It's more difficult on kind of a day-to-day basis. And then there are times when you think, oh, I've forgotten to do it, or I haven't, you know, I'm going to go in and brick. I want to check something.
Because I've forgotten.
I need to check something. It's vitally important that I check this thing at 10:59
2 hours
at night.
later.
Yeah, so there are times that I forget, but I definitely feel like it's helped me to kind of to change habits and to rely on the phone less. So that's been a good thing, even though it kind of feels like it's infantilized me a bit by kind of having to force me into action, I suppose.
No, I think you do what you need to do. And I tried having that Forest app where you set it so you mustn't touch your phone or open any apps for an hour. And if you manage to do that hour, then it grows a little tiny digital tree for you. And I haven't opened that for months because I just got bored of it. I think the brick sounds like a really good solution that I'm not going to do because I love my phone too much.
I think protecting time as well. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but having like properly protected time for certain activities hopefully means that you then, in my case, I don't get kind of too overwhelmed by having too much to do at the same time, or having 10 tasks to do that I can't pick the most important one to do from. So protecting time, that's worked. So even like you said, marketing the business, important to have a specific time in the week to do that, where you're not doing client work or answering emails or doing that sort of thing. You're proactively marketing your business. And that's usually the first thing that goes in terms of the balance within your business, doesn't it? If you're busy with client work. But actually that's the kind of thing that if you keep doing that when you're busy, your business will be healthier, because you don't then have that roller coaster of loads of leads in, drop off because you're then working and doing all the leads. So that's a slightly different kind of balance. That's not obviously home and work-life balance, but just another way of kind of keeping on top of everything. Balance within the business
is important, yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I just want to really quickly read out from a friend of the show, Amy Nolan. When we talked about balance way back doing a LinkedIn Live, she said, balance is interesting because I'm not sure things happen in balance. Like for me to get anything interesting done creatively, I have to have periods where I have more focus on one thing than the other, which probably isn't balance. It's tricky. And she's mentioned about how balance and boundaries are kind of two different things. What do you think of that? Do you think balance and boundaries are two different things?
Yeah, I think they probably are.
Boundaries allow balance. We've said that a little bit so far. Yeah,
I think they do. I mean, you're very good with boundaries. Again, that's probably something that I need to work on even more.
Not good with balance, though.
Yeah, and I think I'm getting the hang of balance. For me, it's never I'm never perfectly balanced. It's never like, oh yeah, stood like doing a
steady Eddie.
Yeah, like standing in the middle of the seesaw kind of thing and not moving. There's always that little bit of give and take, isn't there, with balance? So there'll be times when, family life takes priority, and then there's always times when you have to allow time and focus on your work. So that is the thing with balance. Boundaries is a slightly different thing. I think
that's a whole different episode.
Yeah, I think that's another episode. I'm good with some stuff and that, and not good with others.
Amy also says, I think balance is a marketing ploy by the wellness industry to make us feel like we're getting it wrong all the time, so we need to buy expensive bubble baths to make it all better. I like that. But then she does say, like, if you're in control, like the control of schedule thing, I think that is perhaps gives the illusion perhaps of balance, of knowing that, well, this isn't the day that I'm doing that thing, so I'm not going to do it today. That those kind of boundaries and rules that you set yourself are probably the best way to try and get some balance, but flexibly, forgive yourself. I think,
and those kind of restrictions, and they can help creativity, can't they? If you're suddenly thinking, I've got all this time to create something from, then I don't know, maybe your mind wanders and you don't focus on something. Whereas if you know that you've got a certain time protected for a particular activity, maybe that's when you do your best work, because you can shut off everything else and focus totally on that. It's the same, in terms of productivity and, getting focused work done in general, I think.
Yeah, I have rebelled against the idea of needing structure in my life, but now I realise it.
Likewise.
Definitely necessary.
It's a difficult habit. This goes back to habits in a lot of senses, doesn't it? But it is a difficult habit to either break or to get into, depending on which angle you're coming at it from.
Speaking of structure and having rules and procedures, it's time for your friend and mine. Ben, take it away.
That was very nicely done. Your friend and mine this week goes international. I've got down noted here, your friend of mine, or YFAM, which is what the kids are calling it.
I don't think any kids are calling that. No, the kids are not calling it that.
I don't think the kids listen to our podcast, Mel.
No, I can show you the stats. They do not. We're big with elder millennials and Gen X. Hi, elder millennials and Gen X.
Hello, friends.
We are you.
This week's Your Friend and Mine means we travel across the water to Belgium to Timon Spiesschaert, who is a freelance copywriter and a tremendous supporter of our show. Timon, I think, discovered us a bit late in his own words, but over the last few weeks, he's been incredibly supportive, loads of really lovely messages, and a couple of really nice email testimonials as well. So we're incredibly grateful for your support, Timon, and really happy that you're our friend of the show this week.
Thank you so much.
Oh, that'll do for today. If you're enjoying the show, there are a few ways that you can support us. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Amazon, please leave us a review.
And we're both on LinkedIn. I'm Mel Barfield and he's Ben McGinney. So connect with us there. You can also leave us a testimonial so we can brag about the show and prove that people do listen and some of them enjoy it.
And if you are one of those people who enjoy it, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/Indie Business Club. Ko-fi is KO-FI. Every penny of your contributions helps us to keep making the show. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.